Real quickly before we jump into it, Code Espresso is now on a flash sale of 30% off over at gfuel.com. So if you guys want to check it out, try a new flavor for the first time, restock, or just want to get the gist of it, Code Espresso gets you 30% off your entire order. So check it out. Modern Warfare's beta is finally here, and I'm having a blast so far. But there's one major difference you may have noticed. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. There's a lot of major differences from the alpha and, of course, the reveal build that we saw in the past, but we can save that discussion for another day. There's a lot of stuff to talk about and a lot of cool things that are hidden features you may not know about, but the one thing I want to talk to you guys about today deals with what I'm sure you're eagerly anticipating, that being the ability to play around with any weapon that you want in the beta. In the alpha, you had no control over the weaponry that you were utilizing. You were just tossed to class and told, go take them out. And that was essentially how it ran. That's how 2v2 will run, and it's not going to change from now until the launch, but the beta gives a lot more of an accurate depiction of the full-on game, everything that we'll come to know throughout the rest of the game at launch, the more traditional styles of Call of Duty, and of course, some of the curveballs like 10v10, 20v20, not in the beta, and then 32v32 ground war coming later on. But now that the beta is here, you have your first chance to really dive into that weaponry and dive into what you feel comfortable with in-game. Whether you want to run and gun with the MP7, play with a balanced playstyle on the M4A1, or just sit back and snipe, you have that option now to do any of that. Today, I want to explain fully the way that we'll see come launch, and of course, right now, how the Gunsmith and weapon unlocks and ranking work within the beta, and of course, come full launch of the game. Because what we see when we jump in is, of course, not as many attachments as what we had in the reveal build of the game, and initially, it may seem like a bit of a shock to almost no attachments listed when we're promised so many. So, what's the deal with that? We'll break it all down here in this video, and of course, if you're interested in any more Modern Warfare content, you best believe that we'll have a ton here on the channel throughout this weekend, the next weekend of the beta, and of course ramping up even further towards the launch of the game in the next month or so. So if you're new, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of it. We'll have daily content here, but anyways, let's get into it. Like I said, it may come as a bit of a shock when you first get the ability to create your class, that coming at rank 4. We're told that each weapon will have 30 to 60 attachments to play around with in the most in-depth create a class ever. But when you hit level 4, well, you don't see that, and in fact, you only see a very small fraction of that. But don't worry, that's perfectly natural. Infinity Ward instead took the design approach this year to progressively display the attachments as you unlock them, so instead of sitting there thinking, oh, maybe this one is oh wait, no. How about this one? No, not that one either. Okay, this one I can use. You simply see what you have available, which I actually like quite a bit. Once you get that old system out of your head where you're used to being shown everything up front, it's not so bad and it becomes something that makes sense in terms of how you see it. Granted, it does create that weird scenario of not knowing what you may have coming up later on down the line, but ultimately, you do have a little preview, though it doesn't show you the full progressive unlocks. I'd love to see that happen. In the beta, you also do get to see that in the barracks, there's a rank progression section where you can end up seeing that it goes all the way up to rank 30, which will be the max level cap for the beta. You can see everything that comes along with each individual rank here, but you only get a small fraction of that showcased in the weapon progression, which whenever you take a look at your weapons in the Gunsmith, you can see up in the top right corner a chain of unlocks with a rank beneath each icon. If you hit triangle, you can end up bringing this up to be something that is showcased even larger, and then you can end up seeing this more so fully. It'll showcase usually weapon rank 1 through 6 if you're at the very beginning, and then go all the way up to a max of level 30. Though you can see that there is a 31 and up afterwards, but it's just unobtainable. As it stands right now within the Modern Warfare beta, every single weapon has a max level rank of 30, but of course there's more to come, and likely a lot more to come. Now, naturally, how to unlock these more, how to rank up, is just simply use the weapon. That's the base way you can do this. In the actual full build of the game, you'll be able to use weapon challenges to your advantage, get some extra XP whenever you do that, but ultimately it just comes down to using the weapon, starting to become more proficient, and just putting the time in on each weapon. Now, the cool thing, or I guess not so cool thing, depending on what you end up thinking about this at first, is that it progressively showcases more. So to see weapon rank attachments 7 through 12, you'll need to complete that base first 1 through 6. So what you have on a very bare basic weapon that you haven't touched at all is those first 2 attachments. So Take the AK-47, for example. At the time of recording this B-roll footage, I haven't played around with this at all. So I get to see the muzzle, the optic, the underbarrel, and the perk, and that comes with just about one for each of these categories, with 2 being in the optic. Now, whenever I want to see more of this, well, then I have to end up ranking up through rank 6, and then after that, it will then preview the next 7 through 12, or whatever the next 5 are that you're working on towards. It doesn't have to be 7 through 12, could be 13 through 18, 19 through 24, 25 through 30. Hopefully I got those denominations right. I'm on a couple of weapons where I'm either the very base of the weapon or I have them maxed out completely already. So bear with me on that kind of stuff, but you get the whole picture painted with that. You end up seeing that you have to complete the next section of unlocks before the next ones are showcased, but you also then will see them in that upper right corner in that rank progression, but also as well in the actual selectable options for equipping them. So you can end up seeing another optic added in, you can end up seeing another muzzle added in, and so on and so forth, depending on the weapon. And of course, by simple comparison, a level 1 doesn't showcase as much stuff as even selectable for various locations on the weapon that you can see to customize compared to a weapon at max rank of 30 right now. And of course, as the full game comes out, as a max rank of maybe say 60. But that said, that's the kind of curveball in how the ranking will work and how you can end up getting those attachments. But this also ultimately opens up the options to many attachments, and as before, everything does have pros and cons. This time though, in Modern Warfare, very clearly listed in terms of what will be affected for the better and what will be affected for the worst. That's something that I'm actually very fond of in terms of how the attachments in the Gunsmith handle itself this year, is that it's no longer just some arbitrary stat bars that add a little green or subtract a little red in terms of the weapon statistics. Instead, they tell you the exact pieces that will be adjusted and by how much. So that's something very advantageous as well, and offers a little bit more understanding into what you're actually creating. Now, let's take a little bit of a second here to break away from just simply the weapon attachments. Let's talk about the weapons themselves, because that's, again, equally something that is big in the Gunsmith as well. We saw within this beta build a ton of weapons, possibly all, though I actually don't think that's the case. A lot of them are behind a glass window, in a sense, if you will, where you can't access them at the beta level due to the level caps, and it doesn't even tell you what you can unlock them at, what rank it will eventually come at, because once you get past 30, well, you're not going to experience it in the beta. It's just there, and it showcases and confirms that they're in the game. Like we mentioned, there are 45 rumored weapons to come for launch. That could be correct, that could be less, that could be more. It just is something that we don't know of at the very moment. It's a rumor, but it's not a bad marker to consider. Of those new weapons, though, added within this beta build are some absolute classics returning in the way of the FN SCAR, the FAL, the Kilo 141, which I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say is the current build version of the ACR, the P90, the PP19 Bison, the Uzi, the Kar 98K, the Dragunov, the 1911, and the 357 Magnum. There's lots of kick-ass weapons returning and officially confirmed in this build of the game. Some also are weapons that we saw even from the reveal build and even the alpha, but just have different names on each of them, such including the L86 being renamed the SA87, the M14 being changed to the EBR14, and the MK2 being renamed the MK2 Carbine. Now, why I mention this and break away from just the simple weapon progression discussion is to convey the sheer depth of the create a class and customization weaponry that we'll be seeing this year. In just those 37 weapons that we see in this build, again, maybe that's the full amount, maybe it's less than the full amount coming in the game, but 37 weapons with a max of, right now, 30 weapon levels, which, bear in mind, is not the max that we'll end up seeing. Quick maths, that's 1,110 levels to breeze through in Modern Warfare's weapon progression alone, and again, that's without all the weapon levels included. That could easily double. Every weapon has a minimum of 30 levels, it seems like. But if you remember that Gunsmith footage from the reveal event back in August in LA that I captured, yeah, we still haven't scratched the surface on the attachments for primary weapons. 60 might be something that is maybe the base benchmark in terms of that higher one, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up into the 70s or so for some weapons. And that's assuming that, again, it all stays the same pattern of one weapon level equals one attach unlock. So we've got a long road ahead of us, and I think that that's absolutely awesome. It'll continuously give players something more and more to dive deeper and deeper into. You're not done with a weapon in just a few hours. It'll take a lot of replayability for that weapon mastery to finally get everything. And again, that's assuming there's nothing that is the equivalent of weapon prestiging. I know there's that rumor right now that there might not be a prestige mode in terms of your overall rank. So if they get rid of that, maybe they get rid of the traditional weapon prestige as well. But that is a lot of depth here to this. And right now, we're only just scratching the surface, even if at the very beginning it seems like, well, where are all my attachments? So that's where we're going to wrap it up. Wanted to have a quick casual discussion here with the Gunsmith, fully explain why you might not see anything off the start and how you can keep track of everything that you may be coming in contact with each weapon as you continue to play the beta. One thing to be conscious of as well is that it is confirmed that Infinity Ward will be having double XP weekends for weapon XP, not necessarily character XP and overall rank XP, but instead the weapon XP, so that you can end up utilizing more and more weapons, getting a feel for a lot more of the attachments, a lot of the customization options for each one of these. And again, with 30 ranks for every single weapon, it seems like that's a lot of time to do, so that double XP on the weapon will definitely help out a ton. That said, hopefully this helped you out in some way, shape, or form. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you guys liking the Gunsmith? Are you guys liking Modern Warfare overall? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare. Again, like I said, I'm going to be continuing putting up content here all throughout the beta weekends and of course, as we move closer towards launch. So hit that subscribe button if you guys are new and interested in any of it. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best place to get content outside of YouTube. Probably live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But other than that, thank you guys all so much for watching. Mine is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.